Imagine this for a second. An African tribe, hundreds of years before we even had telescopes, holding secrets about the cosmos.
Secrets that science, well, only confirmed much, much later.
Exactly. We're talking about the Dogon people in Mali and their, frankly, astonishing knowledge of Sirius B.
A star you just can't see with the naked eye. It's too faint, too close to the main star, Sirius A.
But they knew about it. They apparently knew its 50-year orbit, its incredible density. So stick with us, because the journey we're taking here might really surprise you.
It's a story that honestly makes you question how knowledge itself works, how it can be passed down, maybe even perceived.
And guiding us through this, well, this enigma, is the perspective of Alan Watts. He had this amazing knack for just embracing the flow, approaching these deep mysteries with real curiosity.
Oh, absolutely. Watts' philosophy, it pulls so much from Taoism, from Zen. It's all about surrendering to the universe's own wisdom, its own flow.
Letting go of the need to have everything nailed down immediately.
Precisely. Taoism talks about the Tao, this sort of natural, spontaneous order. And Zen emphasizes direct experience, intuition, not just pure intellect. So Watts encourages us to explore something like the Dogon knowledge without demanding an instant, easy answer. Trust the process, maybe.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to explore the Dogon's understanding of Sirius B using, well, both science and spiritual perspective.
Kind of channeling that Alan Watts openness.
Right. We'll look at the anthropology, the work Marcel Griol did. Fascinating stuff.
And the Dogon's own spiritual myths, these stories about the Nommos.
We'll even touch on Robert Temple's book, The Sirius Mystery, that whole question of off-world influence.
And all along, we'll keep Watts' idea in mind. The universe is an endless mystery to itself.
It kind of suggests the real value isn't just in solving the puzzle, but maybe in just appreciating the mystery itself.
Yeah, sitting with the question.
Have you ever looked up at the night sky? I mean, really looked and felt like it was, I don't know, holding secrets? Almost communicating?
That feeling. Yeah. It's like Dogon had this incredible ability to listen to the cosmos in a way maybe we've forgotten.
Their whole cosmology seems to paint that picture, doesn't it? A connected universe.
Deeply interconnected. Where listening isn't just about eyes and ears, maybe something more resonant, spiritual.
So, get ready. We're diving into an enigma where trust might be key. Like Watts said, the way to become one with the universe is to trust it.
We'll explore whether this ancient knowledge of Sirius is perhaps a doorway into that universal flow that great Do Watts celebrated.
Okay, so let's talk more about why Alan Watts feels like the right guide for this particular puzzle.
Well, his whole philosophy really revolves around this idea of surrender, of trusting the natural flow of the Tao. Instead of fighting against the current, you kind of learn to swim with it.
So traditions like Taoism, Zen Buddhism, they really informed his view.
Deeply. They emphasize observing, appreciating the mystery, rather than always needing to impose our own rigid explanations on everything.
So he might look at the Dogon's knowledge, this incredibly precise astronomy, and not immediately jump to how did they figure it out,
Yeah.
but maybe see it as
As the universe flowing through them. Yeah, perhaps as a natural expression of this cosmic intelligence acting through a culture that was maybe particularly attuned to it.
it's a different way of looking at knowledge acquisition, isn't it?
Completely. And Watts, he often warned against our obsession with needing definitive answers for everything.
You talked about trusting the process, right?
Yeah.
Like that balsa wood raft story.
Exactly. The person who yielded, who didn't fight the water, found that everything cooperated with him because he had touched the key. It's about finding that harmony within the mystery, not necessarily eliminating it.
And he approached it all with a certain lightness, didn't he? That quote, "The universe is an endless mystery to itself." That almost sounds playful.
It does. It captures his perspective perfectly. He wasn't afraid of the unknown. He found it, well, wondrous.
Yeah.
Inspiring, even, which is a great mindset for tackling the Dogon enigma, because there are definitely a lot of unknowns here.
What about his idea of non-knowing? He said, I don't know is the same thing as I love. How does that fit in?
That concept encourages us to approach the Dogon's knowledge with real openness, without immediately trying to force it into our existing boxes, our scientific frameworks, or cultural assumptions.
Just letting it be what it is, maybe.
And allowing for possibilities that might just lie outside our current grasp.
So with Watts guiding us, could we see the Dogon not just as like passive observers, but maybe active participants, flowing with the cosmos, with the great Tao?
That's a fascinating way to put it. Their deep knowledge, their cosmology. It really suggests this intimate engagement with the universe.
And it brings up a big question for us, really. How does their apparent connection, their knowledge of Sirius, maybe shed light on our own relationship with the cosmos?
That's the deeper exploration, isn't it? Okay, so let's get specific. Who are the Dogon people, and what exactly is this knowledge that's so puzzling?
Right, the Dogon. They live in Mali, West Africa, on the Bandiagro Plateau. A really unique cultural group.
And they've fascinated anthropologists, astronomers, too, for decades now. Because of this, well, seemingly advanced cosmic understanding.
Centered on Sirius, mainly.
Yes, Sirius, or Sigu Tolo, as they call it. Marcel Griol and Germaine Dieterlen, the anthropologists who spent years with them back in the 1930s and 40s, documented this incredibly specific knowledge.
They describe Sirius as a double star system.
Exactly. A main bright star, Sirius A, and a smaller, dimmer companion, Potolo, which we know as Sirius B. And crucially, they said Potolo orbits Sigu Tolo every 50 years or so.
Which is incredibly close to the actual orbital period, around 50.1 years, right?
Astonishingly close. And this was part of their tradition long before Western astronomy even confirmed Sirius B existed.
But it gets even wilder, the details they apparently knew about Sirius B itself.
It does. They described Potolo as incredibly dense. They used a term sometimes translated as like a star of iron.
Which is a pretty good description for a white dwarf star, considering how dense they are.
A remarkably accurate analogy, yes. And they knew it was invisible to the naked eye. Again, these are facts Western science only confirmed much later. Sirius B was first seen telescopically in 1862. Its density wasn't really understood until the 20th century.
It just makes your head spin. And it wasn't only Sirius, was it? Griol reported other things.
According to Griol's later work, yes. Things like an awareness of Saturn's rings and Jupiter's 4 largest moons.
Discoveries we usually credit to Galileo and his telescope in the 1600s.
Right. Now, the level of detail they knew compared to Galileo is debated by some researchers, but the basic awareness itself is still striking.
And this wasn't just trivia, it was woven into their whole culture.
Deeply into their myth, their rituals, especially those connected to the Nommos.
Ah yes, the Nommos. These beings, they say, brought them wisdom.
Amphibious beings, supposedly from the Sirius system, they're central to the Dogon explanation for this knowledge.
Which leads us right back to the big question, the mystery. How? How did a tribe, seemingly without telescopes, get this kind of astronomical detail?
It's the million-dollar question. The Dogon tradition points to the Nommos. Spiritually, their worldview sees a living cosmos where maybe knowledge is accessed differently.
And then there are theories like Robert Temple's, actual extraterrestrial contact.
That's one interpretation, yes, proposing that the knowledge was literally gifted.
Wow, so many possibilities. What would Watts make of the origin itself?
I suspect he'd find the origin fascinating, but maybe less important than the implication. He might see the unpredictable way this knowledge surfaces as just part of the cosmic dance. Remember his line, "You don't know where your decisions come from, they pop up like hiccups."
Oh, right. The source might be unknowable, or just part of the flow.
So as we dig deeper, what can science and spirituality together maybe reveal about this connection?
That's what we need to explore. We need to weave these threads together, the science, the spiritual beliefs, the enduring mystery itself.
Maybe find a new perspective on our own place in it all. And hey, if you're finding this journey into cosmic mystery is as fascinating as we do, maybe take a second to like this video. Leave a comment. It really helps YouTube figure out what you enjoy and suggest similar stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And subscribing or sharing helps others find this too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the Dogon, their incredible knowledge, the ET question, and Watt's wisdom urging openness. Where do we start trying to unravel this?
Let's begin with the Dogon cosmogony itself. Their view of the universe, how it all fits together, stars, myths, rituals.
It sounds like a worldview where maybe the line between the physical and the spiritual isn't so sharply drawn.
Exactly. Very fluid. And Watts, with his love for mystery, would surely appreciate that interconnectedness.
You'd probably say it's more evidence that the universe is an endless mystery to itself.
Right. It forces us to ask, how did a tribe in Mali, guided by these ancient African spiritual ways, get such specific astronomical insights? And what does that tell us about our cosmic connection?
It really pushes against our modern tendency to silo knowledge, doesn't it? Science here, spirituality over there.
The Dogons seem to offer a more holistic way of knowing. The universe isn't just dead matter, it's a living tapestry. Like Watts might say, let's see what you're going to do, maybe hinting the universe participates in revealing itself.
So to understand how they got this knowledge, we have to look at their beliefs about Sirius, these Nommo beings, and the role of spirituality.
We have to. Their whole cosmogony suggests they were deeply listening to the cosmos. Did they hear the universe in a way we've lost? Or, as some theories hint, were they somehow taught by it?
Those are the big questions. Let's dive into the astronomy first. What specifics did they know about Sirius?
Okay, so according to Griol and Dieterlen's detailed work, Sirius C is absolutely central. They described it quite accurately as a binary system.
2 stars. And the key is the companion star, Sirius B, or Po-Tolo. What did they know about it?
They knew it orbited Sirius A, the main star, in about 50 years. Again, remarkably close to the real figure of 50.1 years. And this was apparently known for centuries before Western science caught up.
And they understood its nature too, didn't they? Not just that it was there.
Right. They described Po-Tolo as incredibly dense, using terms suggesting something like iron, a surprisingly good fit for a white dwarf star, which is essentially a collapsed, super dense stellar core.
And invisible. They knew you couldn't see it.
Crucially, yes, invisible to the naked eye. A fact only confirmed by powerful telescopes in 1862.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And Griol reported more. Beyond Sirius.
Yes, an awareness of Saturn's rings, Jupiter's main moons, things not widely known in the West until Galileo's time, 17th century.
Even if the details are debated, the awareness is still remarkable.
Very. And importantly, this wasn't just, abstract knowledge, it was embedded in their culture.
In rituals like the Sigri ceremony.
Absolutely. The Sigri is celebrated roughly every 60 years, linked to the Sirius cycle. It involves masks, dances, and it's a key time when initiates are taught this astronomical lore.
So it keeps coming back to this. Precision astronomy without apparent technology. That's the hook.
It is. It's profoundly mysterious. As Watts might muse, you don't know where your decisions come from. It makes you wonder about knowledge itself. How did these details get so deeply tied into their myths?
Let's talk about those myths then. The Nommos seem key to the Dogon explanation. Who or what are they?
In Dogon belief, Sirius isn't just a star, it's a spiritual center, linked to these Nommos. They're described as amphibious beings, cosmic entities, who came from the Sirius system.
Amphibious? Like fish people from space?
Sort of. The descriptions are symbolic, of course. They're associated with water, the source of life in Dogon thought. They're said to have brought knowledge, order, civilization itself. They're like intermediaries between the creator god and humans.
Bridging heaven and earth in a way.
Exactly. Their amphibious nature probably symbolizes that link between the watery origins of life and the celestial realm they came from.
And Sirius B, Po-Tolo, has a special role with the Nommos.
A very special role. It's seen as the seed of the universe, the cosmic egg. Its energy, channeled by the Nommos, is what supposedly brought creation and knowledge.
This is where Robert Temple's theory comes in, taking it more literally.
Yes. His book, The Sirius Mystery, proposed that the Nommos weren't just myths, but actual extraterrestrials from Sirius who shared advanced knowledge.
Which is quite different from how the Dogon themselves seem to view them, right? More spiritual guides.
Generally, yes. The Dogon perspective often emphasizes the Nommos as spiritual teachers, imparting wisdom through intuition, dreams, ritual, not necessarily spaceships. Watts, thinking about interconnectedness, might see them symbolizing a deeper cosmic synergy. Synergy is the intelligence of a highly complex system.
So, are they literal ETs or profound symbols of cosmic wisdom and connection? That seems to be the crux of it.
It is, and understanding that requires looking at their broader spiritual context.
Okay, let's explore that. How does Dogon spirituality shape their view of the cosmos in these rituals?
They practice a form of animism. The whole universe is alive, interconnected. Every star, especially Sirius, has purpose, spiritual weight.
And the rituals are how they express and maintain this connection.
Precisely. The Sigiri ceremony, tied to the Sirius cycle, is huge. It involves masks, dances, reenacting the Nommo's arrival, their role in creation. And during these times, as Griol noted, initiated priests pass on the astronomical knowledge.
So the ritual is also a classroom in a way.
You could say that. And there are specific groups like the Alwa Society who use complex sand drawings like star maps to teach about Sirius. It really shows how integrated astronomy and spirituality are for them.
It feels similar to other traditions where celestial events are read for meaning, not just data.
Absolutely. Parallels exist across cultures. Anthropologists like Walter Van Beek have noted that while specifics might shift over time, Sirius's spiritual importance for the Dogon seems constant. Watts might see these rituals as a way the cosmos cooperates, Everything cooperated with him because he had touched the key.
So, given this deep blend of spirit, ritual, and seemingly precise astronomy. How did they know? This brings us right to the anthropological puzzle.
It really does, because from a standard anthropological or scientific view, the Dogon knowledge is hard to explain. It challenges our models of how cultures learn, especially about things they can't easily see.
Yeah, the core question won't go away. How did they know about Sirius B's orbit and density without telescopes? It kind of upends assumptions about primitive societies.
And several theories try to bridge that gap, right?
Right. One idea is super sophisticated naked eye observation over centuries, maybe noticing tiny wobbles or brightness changes in Sirius A.
Plausible for detecting something might be there, maybe, but explaining the specific 50-year orbit, the density, the invisibility, that's a bigger leap just from watching Sirius A closely.
Agreed. Then there's the external influence idea. Carl Sagan and others suggested contact with Europeans, missionaries, astronomers maybe in the 19th or early 20th century who did know about Sirius B.
That theory suggests the knowledge isn't purely ancient Dogon tradition, but was absorbed from outside, perhaps relatively recently.
And of course, Robert Temple's ET hypothesis. The no-nos literally came and told them. Though, as you said, there's no hard proof.
No archaeological evidence, no clear historical records supporting direct ET contact.
Plus, even the original anthropological accounts by Griol have been questioned by later researchers.
Yes, Walter Van Beek's work, Dogon Restudied, raised questions about inconsistencies and whether this detailed astronomy was as widespread or ancient as Griol portrayed it.
So it's a tangled web. No single theory feels completely satisfying, and I bet Alan Watts would have just loved this ambiguity.
Oh, he would have relished it. It perfectly illustrates his point. The universe is an endless mystery to itself, which leads us perfectly into using Watts' philosophy not to solve the mystery, but maybe to understand it differently as part of that cosmic flow.
So how does Watts' philosophy give us a fresh lens on this Dogon knowledge?
Well, fundamentally, Watts encourages letting go of that desperate need for a final, concrete explanation. Faced with something like the Dogon knowing about Sirius B, which seems to defy easy logic, Watts might just say, well, there it is.
Part of the universe's mystery manifested.
Exactly. The universe is an endless mystery to itself. He wouldn't feel the pressure to neatly label it observation or spirituality or ETs. It just is.
Because he saw the universe as spontaneous, unpredictable.
Totally. Things arise, phenomena happen as part of this ongoing cosmic flow. His phrase, let's see what you're going to do, almost gives the universe agency and unfolding intelligence.
So if we think of the Dogon's knowledge as maybe a glimpse into that deeper flow, Watts offers this idea of trust, trusting the universe as this interconnected process, the Great Dome.
Precisely. Trust the unfolding, don't force the explanation. He saw the universe as unified, and maybe the Dogon understanding was just a unique expression of that unity.
So his ideas about spontaneity, unity, even non-knowing, how do they help us here?
They invite us to consider that maybe this knowledge doesn't fit our neat boxes. It could be spontaneous insight. It could be a deep connection to the universe's oneness. It could be that intuitive non-knowing that bypasses pure reason.
It pushes us to ask different questions, maybe. Like, how does this knowledge reflect the flow? Were the Dogon just listening really well, or were they somehow co-creating this understanding with the cosmos?
That idea of the universe flowing, without a separate controller driving it, that was so key for Watts.
Right. The universe is a dynamic process, so the Dogon's grasp of Sirius B's orbit, maybe it's just a natural ripple in that process, the universe expressing itself through them.
Could be. And Watts might say trying to pin down how they knew with one linear explanation totally misses the point. Like his hiccups analogy, you don't know where your decisions come from.
And this flow connects everything for Watts.
Absolutely. Total interconnectedness, which resonates beautifully with Dogon animism, doesn't it? The living cosmos. Griol's work showed how deeply their astronomy and spirituality were linked. Watts would probably call that synergy.
Synergy is the intelligence of a highly complex system.
Exactly. So whether the knowledge came via observation, intuition, or something else entirely, Watts might see it all as cosmic cooperation. Like the balsa wood raft rider, finding harmony by yielding to the flow.
Which brings us to unity. Watts saw reality as one indivisible thing, the separate ego being an illusion.
Totally. The more you trust it as another, the more you realize the inseparable identity of self and other. Now connect that to the Dogon view of Sirius as a portal, linked to the Nommos who bridge sky and earth.
You start seeing echoes of Watts' unity idea.
Right. The great Tao flows everywhere. Maybe the Dogon, describing Sirius B, were voicing that cosmic unity. the universe observing itself through them, in a way.
And this perspective lets us hold the mystery, even the controversial stuff like Temple's ET theory, without needing it to be the only answer.
Yes. Watts wouldn't necessarily dismiss it, but he'd probably say the need for an external source isn't the point. The knowledge itself, however it arose, is the cosmos revealing itself. The universe is an endless mystery to itself.
So if we let go of needing the one scientific explanation, how does Watts' idea of trust become the key? How does trust help us maybe appreciate or even hear the universe like the Dogon might have?
Trust was central for Watts, especially with the unknown. The way to become one with the universe is to trust it. Applied here, it means embracing the mystery of Sirius B, not needing to dissect and conquer it intellectually.
Being open to things beyond current science.
Exactly. Even the debates, like Van Beek questioning Grial important scholarship, sure, but maybe the uncertainty itself is part of the richness. Watts said, I don't know is the same thing as I love, I let go.
So maybe the Dogon, through their rituals like the Siggi, were operating from that place of intuitive trust in the cosmos.
It's a powerful thought. Their practices might have cultivated a relationship with the universe built on trust, not just empirical data as we define it. Watts loved those analogies of life's spontaneity. You don't know where your decisions come from, illustrating that trust in the unfolding.
So by trusting the mystery, the Dogon might have accessed some deeper cosmic wisdom, tapping into ancestral connections maybe, which are vital in many African spiritual paths.
It's a view that definitely challenges our modern scientific focus on proof. But Watts invites us to consider other ways of knowing, which really makes you wonder, how does this emphasis on trust land in a world obsessed with finding scientific certainty?
It feels like maybe the real knowing isn't in having the answers, but in living comfortably with the questions.
Exactly, and trusting that the universe reveals its wonders in its own time to those who are open.
Okay, so Watts' philosophy seems surprisingly relevant to this ancient mystery even today, when astronomy has confirmed Sirius B's orbit and density.
It really is. You know, Watts often criticized our modern obsession with control, with needing to manage everything. He might see the intense effort to definitively prove or disprove the origin of the Dogon knowledge as another example of that ego-driven need for control.
Missing the forest for the trees, maybe.
Perhaps. He believed the principle of unity is not to try to obtain power over the universe. It's about flowing with the mystery.
He even talked about a practical utopia based on trust. Does that connect to the Dogon cosmology?
I think so. Their view of Sirius as a spiritual portal, a source of life and order, feels resonant with a worldview based on connection and flow rather than domination. The idea that their knowledge could be a manifestation of the Great Dare fits right in.
Which naturally leads us to consider the more provocative explanation, the extraterrestrial hypothesis surrounding the Nommos. How does that idea of cosmic contact fit or not fit with Watts' perspective?
Well, the Dogon enigma, with its specific astronomical details and these myths of the Nommos, certainly invites speculation about connections beyond Earth.
Robert Temple jumped right in there, didn't he, with the Sirius mystery?
He did, arguing the Nommos were literal extraterrestrial teachers from Sirius. It definitely feeds into that core Wattsian idea. The universe is an endless mystery to itself.
So if Sirius B knowledge is some kind of cosmic portal, what might the ET hypothesis reveal?
That's the question this section explores. We'll look at the Nommos as potential beings from Sirius, compare these myths globally, connect it back to African animism, and see how skeptical critiques look through Watts' lens of trusting the flow. Remember, let's see what you're going to do.
So ET visitors, or profound spiritual intuition. Let's explore the Nommos theory itself first.
Okay, Temple's core argument is that the Dogon couldn't possibly have known the specifics about Sirius B, its density, invisibility, 50-year orbit, without outside help.
And he points to Grial's reports as evidence.
Yes. He highlights those details, and even mentions Dogon references to a third star, Emiatolo, which some speculate could be a hypothetical Sirius C, though its existence is debated in astronomy.
And the Nommos, in this theory, are the source of this info.
Temple proposes they were advanced, amphibious beings from the Sirius system who visited Earth long ago and taught the Dogon not just astronomy, but maybe agriculture, social structure, the foundations of their civilization.
It's a bold claim. Extraterrestrial contact shaping an ancient culture.
Very bold, and it gained a lot of popular attention. Temple's main point is the sheer unlikelihood of such precise knowledge arising independently, given Sirius B's invisibility.
Watts might chime in here with his thought on spontaneous insights. You don't know where your decisions come from. but Temple leans towards external teaching.
So are the Nommos ETs in this view, or are they symbols? Temple argues for the literal interpretation. But this idea of wise beings bringing knowledge isn't unique to the Dogon, is it?
No, not at all. Many ancient cultures have similar myths.
Exactly. Look at the Babylonian myth of Oannes, another amphibious being who brought wisdom from the sea. Or figures like Thoth in ancient Egypt. The Dogon description of Nommos as masters of the waters fits this pattern.
You see echoes in other African traditions too, right? Like the Yoruba Orishas?
Definitely. There are recurring themes of divine or semi-divine figures associated with water, creation, and knowledge across cultures. Carl Jung might call these archetypes bubbling up from the collective unconscious.
A universal pattern.
Perhaps. Watts might see it as evidence of the interconnectedness of human consciousness, the great Tao flowing everywhere. So are the Nommos an echo of a universal story or evidence of a specific cosmic event? That's the debate.
How does the Dogon's own spirituality provide context here, their animistic view?
It's crucial. Remember, they see the cosmos as alive, Sirius as a spiritual portal. The Nommos, in their view, are guides connecting sky and earth, bringing harmony. Rituals like the sea grease celebrate this.
So, contact, for them, might mean something different than spaceships landing.
Possibly more like spiritual communion, receiving wisdom through non-physical means. It aligns with other African traditions where cosmic events are seen as messages, maybe from ancestors or spirits. Think of Akan divination practices, for example.
So, from this perspective, the Nommos could be manifestations of cosmic consciousness rather than physical ETs.
That's a possibility deeply rooted in their worldview. Watts, again, might point to synergy. Synergy is the intelligence of a highly complex system, suggesting the interaction is more profound than just physical visitation.
But the ET hypothesis faces some serious critiques, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Significant criticisms.
Sagan's point about potential European contamination.
Right. Missionaries, maybe visiting astronomers around the time of an 1893 solar eclipse expedition to Mali people who knew about Sirius B could have influenced Dogon elders.
And Van Beek's later research questioning Griol's findings, finding inconsistencies when he interviewed Dogon people more recently.
Yes, that casts doubt on how ancient or widespread the precise astronomical details really were within the Dogon community as a whole.
Plus, the lack of physical evidence for ETs.
No crashed ships, no alien artifacts found in the region, and the debate about Sirius C in astronomy is still ongoing. It's not confirmed.
So, lots of holes in the strict ET theory.
Watts might look at all this debate and just gently suggest trusting the process, maybe. The way to become one with the universe is to trust it. He might see the Nommos as part of the cosmic flow, regardless of whether they were flesh and blood aliens or powerful symbols.
Which leads us to consider other possible explanations for the Dogon's knowledge, besides ETs.
Exactly. If not aliens, then what? We're still left with this unsolved mystery of Sirius B. Watts might say the great Tao flows everywhere, so maybe the answer lies closer to home.
So, alternatives like pure observation, maybe spiritual intuition, or that cultural influence theory.
Those seem to be the main contenders. And Watts, with his emphasis on trusting the flow, let's see what you're going to do, might encourage us to explore all possibilities without prejudice.
So were the Dogon sharp-eyed astronomers, deeply intuitive spiritual guides, or perhaps recipients of earthly knowledge passed along.
Let's examine those alternatives. First, astronomical observation. Could they have figured it out just by looking?
Some argue yes, that over generations, Dogon skywatchers developed incredibly sophisticated techniques. The skies over the Bandiagra Plateau are famously clear, right? Ideal conditions.
True. It's proposed they might have noticed tiny variations in Sirius A's brightness or its position relative to other stars, suggesting an unseen companion pulling on it.
Ancient astronomers everywhere used empirical methods, observing patterns over long periods.
And rituals like the Sigri tied to Sirius's cycle could have provided a framework for refining these observations over centuries.
But does observation alone explain knowing Sirius B was super dense like iron?
That's the sticking point for many. It's hard to see how naked eye observation could reveal density. Watts might see this as an example of cosmic cooperation, though. Everything cooperated with him because he had touched the key. Maybe observation unlocked something deeper.
Which brings us to intuition and spirituality. Could the knowledge have come from within through their spiritual connection?
This perspective draws heavily on African spirituality. The Dogon's animistic view sees stars as living beings, Priests, elders, might access cosmic wisdom through rituals, meditation, dreams.
So the knowledge is seen as a kind of spiritual gift, perhaps linked to the Nommos mythologically.
Exactly. It aligns with other African traditions where dreams or altered states are used for celestial interpretation. Maybe Dogon rituals induced meditative states that facilitated insights about Sirius B's orbit.
Watts would probably love that idea of spontaneous insight popping up, wouldn't he? You don't know where your decisions come from.
It fits his model perfectly. Was their knowledge a form of deep listening to the cosmos, or was it influenced by more earthly contacts?
Which is the third main alternative: external earthly influence.
The skeptical explanation, favored by Sagan and others: European contact in the 19th or early 20th century.
The timing fits, roughly. Sirius B was discovered astronomically in the mid-1800s, and missionaries and others were in the region later.
And Van Beek's research found those inconsistencies with Grail's accounts, suggesting maybe the specific details weren't as ancient or universal among the Dogon as first thought.
Now, this theory raises questions about the purity of the Dogon cosmology, but it doesn't necessarily negate its spiritual richness, does it?
Not at all. Cultures absorb and adapt ideas constantly. Watts might say the origin is secondary anyway. The universe is an endless mystery to itself. The meaning they made of Sirius is still profound.
So is the Dogon knowledge a fusion of cultures, ancient observation, deep intuition, or something else entirely?
That's the question. And Watts would likely say the mystery transcends these neat linear explanations. The great Tao flows everywhere.
He wasn't a fan of trying to control or dissect mystery, was he? Like his overworked laborer parable.
Exactly. He'd suggest that trying to nail down the one true origin might be missing the point, missing the message within the Dogon's holistic view.
It's their synergy, their integration of astronomy and spirituality. That's maybe the real lesson.
Well, perhaps. Watts emphasized synergy as cosmic intelligence. Synergy is the intelligence of a highly complex system. And ultimately, he'd call us back to trust. The way to become one with the universe is to trust it.
So for Watts, the Dogon knowledge, wherever it came from, observation, intuition, influence, nomos, it's the universe revealing itself.
In its own mysterious way. Which leads us to think, how can we connect with that cosmic flow, inspired by both Watts and the Dogon?
Right, we've journeyed through this incredible mystery, guided by Watts' call to embrace the flow. Let's see what you're going to do. Can we actually cultivate practices that help us connect, maybe open our own cosmic portals?
I think we can, drawing inspiration from both Watts' philosophy and the Dogon's deep relationship with the stars. We can explore accessible practices.
Like what? Stellar contemplation,
Yeah.
meditation, rituals.
Exactly, things that encourage that sense of connection, that listening. Can we feel the great Tao, that universal flow, just by looking at the stars with intention?
Let's start with stellar contemplation. Observation was clearly key for the Dogon.
It was. So, a simple practice. Find a clear night, locate Sirius if you can. It's the brightest star in the night sky. Just observe it for 10-15 minutes.
Notice its brightness, its position. Maybe ask silently, what is this star telling me?
And just be open to any feelings, thoughts, images, maybe jot them down afterwards. It's about cultivating that receptive state. Watts might say this is how you touch the key, letting the universe cooperate.
And meditation, how can that deepen the connection?
We can try an intuitive meditation inspired by Watts and maybe the contemplative states the Dogon might have reached. Watts always emphasized trusting the process. The way to become one with the universe is to trust it.
So how would that work?
Find a quiet space. Sit comfortably. Maybe visualize Sirius's light entering your body, connecting you to the vastness. You could repeat a simple phrase like, I am open to the cosmic flow.
Just allowing whatever comes up.
Yes, you might have vivid dreams later, or sudden insights. Studies show meditation can enhance coherence in the brain, potentially opening us to different modes of perception. It's like Watts said about decisions popping up, like hiccups. Sometimes insights arrive unexpectedly when we quiet the conscious mind.
What about inspired rituals? The Dogon had the Sigui. Can we do something similar respectfully?
Respectfully is the key word. We don't want to appropriate specific Dogon rituals, but we can create simple personal rituals inspired by that animistic view, seeing the cosmos as alive.
Like what, for example?
Maybe create a small star altar, a candle representing Sirius's light, a bowl of water for the Nommo's connection, a stone for Earth. Light the candle, offer gratitude, just observe the flame, feeling connected.
Keeping it personal and respectful. avoiding cultural appropriation.
Absolutely crucial. Understand the context of African rituals is vital. The goal is personal connection, inspired by the principle, not mimicking the specifics. Make it meaningful to you. Watts saw synergy everywhere. Maybe our personal ritual creates its own synergy.
So how does someone start these practices safely and with the right intention?
Good question. Maybe a simple guide. 1. Prepare. Get a journal. Set an intention, maybe just to connect. 2. Stellar contemplation. Start small, 10 minutes. 3. Intuitive meditation. Try 5-10 minutes. Focus on openness. 4. Personal ritual. Keep it simple, authentic to you. 5. Respect. Always be mindful of cultural context. Don't push yourself too hard, especially initially.
It sounds like combining observation, inner reflection, and intentional action, all wrapped in that Wattsian trust.
Exactly. The way to become one with the universe is to trust it.
So how do all these practices tie back into Watts's overall vision and the Dogon mystery?
They bring it home. We've explored this amazing enigma, the Dogon's knowledge, the Nommos, the debates, guided by Watts' wisdom. Let's see what you're going to do. And the universe is an endless mystery to itself.
The conclusion seems to be about uniting these threads. Watts, African spirituality, the Sirius puzzle, to show that flowing with the cosmos really means embracing mystery with trust.
You've completed the cosmic journey with us.
So wrapping up, Watts' philosophy really acts as a bridge here, doesn't it? Connecting the Dogon's ancient wisdom with our modern search for meaning.
It does. His idea of the great Tao flowing everywhere resonates so strongly with the Dogon's apparent understanding of Sirius as this vital cosmic hub.
And his concept of synergy is the intelligence of a highly complex system, feels relevant to how their knowledge might have emerged, whether through observation, intuition, or something else.
Absolutely. And the Dogon's legacy, seeing Sirius as this spiritual portal, echoes the deep spiritual connection to the cosmos found across many African traditions. It reminds us, as Watts urged, to embrace mystery. I don't know is the same thing as I love.
So the actionable takeaway for you, listening, is maybe to try those practices we discussed. Stellar contemplation, intuitive meditation.
Yes, simple ways to cultivate that connection, guided by Watts' principle. The way to become one with the universe is to trust it.
And we have a challenge for you. Think back. Have you ever had a moment where you felt the universe was speaking to you? Maybe looking at the stars, or just a moment of intuition?
We'd love for you to share that experience in the comments below. Watts believed in the power of sharing. The more you give it away, the more it comes back. And it builds community. The more you trust it as another, the more you realize the inseparable identity of self and other.
Absolutely. Let us know your moments of cosmic connection.
And we'll continue exploring fascinating intersections of science, spirituality, and mystery in future deep dives.
So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. Because, as Watts knew,
the universe is an endless mystery to itself.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. Keep exploring, keep trusting the flow. There are 2 videos appearing on your screen right now. Click the one that calls to you, the one that resonates, and continue your journey of exploration.